welcome to the Download Youth Ministry Web Show. Doug Fields here, episode 263 with my friend and buddy and
best friend ever. That's what I hear him saying.
CrossFit partner, Josh Griffin.
Yes.
The queen, as always, Katrina Katie Edwards, and a very special guest for the second time, second show.
It's a big deal.
Dr. Reggie Joyner from Orange, who is our primary sponsor. Thank you.
That's right.
We're so excited about that. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
This relationship here.
Have you noticed that?
That's great.
We've got some.
Looks real sharp.
I was
guys.
going to say, we could
Real
have straightened
sharp.
out the air bubbles
I know.
in the orange logo.
Kind of a next level look now.
I was actually here for
it's
quality
okay.
control to actually look at the brand to make
Kate-
sure.
Well,
it
here's
wasn't
the
wrong.
deal. We're not charging enough for the sponsorship to
wow.
have a real
Apparently.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
to have a
That
real
sticker
good
costs a
sign.
lot of money.
Wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for being a part of this.
Hey, I'm
We're
glad to be
excited
here.
for the next
Yeah.
journey
Absolutely.
of that. And we mentioned on the last show, we didn't. I can't remember. Yeah, we did mention we were going to be here because we have some Reggie specific questions.
Yeah.
But-
Which is great. Katie and I can just take the show off
Yeah.
and let Reggie just kind
no.
of...
Sit at your feet.
No.
Yeah, just learn. We
Soak
want to
it
learn.
in.
If they're going to be Reggie specific questions, there's going to be Josh specific questions too. Because
Oh.
I'm going to ask some questions.
There you
Katie
go, that's
questions.
I had a
Quake
Josh specific
question.
question
I'm
last
sorry,
week
I've got a lot-
that was
Do
rough.
you
Did you
remember?
really?
Yeah, so
do
it
you
was
remember
bad. So
last
you take-
show? You're gonna have to listen to it. But Katie says when we were talking about you, she goes, "I think I have a little. Maybe it wasn't crush. It was
Probably ministry crush, maybe.
maybe it was
would have been the
ministry
phrase I
crush.
used.
Yeah, it was something real tender, sweet, and
Kind of a
like-
compassionate ministry missional thing.
Yeah.
you were doing.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was.
No,
That's exactly what it was.
Oh,
She was
yeah.
talking about how much she loved the Orange Conference, and so I've kind of here's kind of what I do, Reggie.
Okay.
Is since Orange is the primary sponsor of the web show, I've just kind of taken on some liberties. So
That's great.
I've already said that
that's true.
we're going to invite our DYM
Absolutely.
members, and we're going to
Absolutely.
do something. You're going to give us a room. You're
Absolutely.
gonna, maybe
Yep.
you can hook us up with the XP3 folks.
Yes, we can do that.
The
And a
XP3 is the
DJ.
high school.
The bottom line is,
He knows
just to
people. He
clarify
can do
this,
anything he
this is
wants.
because Katie wants it, not because you want it.
True. Yeah, I get what I want.
I mean,
so.
that's,
I like
that's
it.
the bottom line.
Yeah, I think
Katie
Katie
has
should
edged her
speak
way
at
in.
it, but I already know we got Josh.
I'll
We
be
got
there.
Josh
Josh
there.
is on
I'm
the
excited to
ticket.
Which I kind of wanted to know.
Oh, great.
I was looking at this and I see my picture in here right there.
Yep.
John Akoff. I mean, really, Perry Noble, Donald Miller,
lineup.
Sue
It's a
Miller.
great
I mean,
lineup.
Great
It's gonna
people.
be a great conference.
I can't find Josh
Well,
in here
that's
anywhere.
because
Yeah.
it took me
Yeah.
so long to get Josh to commit. This brochure came out before but we got a new one coming out.
Oh,
It's
okay.
going to have Josh on the front page.
It's the,
There
it's
you
the
go.
negotiations.
Centered.
They,
I mean,
it was
yeah, I
pretty
mean,
aggressive.
yeah.
He
Pretty
didn't
aggressive
want. He
and
didn't want to
friendly.
be in a little picture with a lot of people. He kind of wanted his space.
Yeah.
Cover.
Yeah.
Cover.
Kind of how he is.
Well, Josh is playing hard to get. He's kind of hanging with the Vody Bakum crowd. That,
Oh, yeah.
Is that even how you say his name?
I'm not going to try to say anything.
Okay.
I
You
don't
chosen
go
wisely.
there.
You
Yeah.
chosen
No,
wisely.
I think he.
I
Anyway.
believe, yeah.
So Reggie, you know what we do on the show is we always start by saying thank you to our primary sponsor.
Okay.
We have some secondary sponsors.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Leader Treks. Do you know much about Leader
I
Treks?
do a little bit.
Yeah, well, I've bragged about them to you
Good.
because they're great. They provide our one of the 9 monthly things our members get, a student leadership deal. They're great people. They also do our student leadership conference with us in the summer, and then Youth Ministry 360.
Okay.
They're out of Alabama.
Anything outside of California.
Yeah.
Alabama,
Doug doesn't
Alabama
have
or
any
Arkansas?
concept. You're
No,
like-
Alabama. Alabama. They used to be part of
Somewhere in
Randy
the
Hall's
South.
Student Life deal.
Oh, yeah.
They're great thinkers, great
great.
writers. They produce some really good stuff. They're fun people. Josh makes up a discount code every show.
Yeah.
So be thinking of what that
I'm
discount
ready- I'm
code
ready to
is.
go.
We give them 10% off if they use that discount code. And then where I teach a master's in youth ministry at Azusa Pacific University, and they're also one of our sponsors.
Well, I like those guys too. That's Jim Burns and that
Yeah,
family, right?
Yeah, great crew.
Jim is part of that. I can't talk these guys
And you teach a master's?
into. I teach old people, really.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I thought it was one.
yeah. Yeah.
I teach old people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, undergrad. Here, let's be honest. Undergrad, they don't know what they don't know. So when
That's
I
true.
teach at the undergrad, and I do teach at the undergrad, but they're kind of like, will this be on the test? Where
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
grad students,
They really care.
they're in it. They're in
Yeah,
the trenches.
right.
So you're
Right.
talking about stuff that they know
That
about.
really matters.
Now there's a couple exceptions. Undergrad, there are some
Yeah.
people that are like really into it. Last night I was meeting with our friend Seth Bartlett, who used to be the executive producer of the show when it was really good. He was talking.
When was it
Don't
really
listen
good?
to that.
It was.
Don't take that.
I'll have to show you those.
Well, since I'm here today and it used to be really good,
Yeah,
that kind of
there's some-
bothered me.
Yeah,
That's
you're bringing it back up. You're bringing it back up. We're on our way.
Okay.
We're on our way.
Parker does something to every show where he inserts himself in it somehow.
Today,
Yeah.
he should insert himself today because he's like lumber sexual today. He's like you need an axe. You'd be just
Did
perfect.
you really just use that term?
Oh
He
yeah.
did.
It's
So
a thing.
anyway,
He used
it's
it
a
earlier
thing.
today, and
I
it was
know it's a
confusing to
thing.
me.
Seth
The idea of lumber and sex together, those two
Yeah.
terms,
Yeah.
just,
Feels
it
weird.
does feel weird.
Yeah.
Seth is meeting me late last night at Del Taco, and he was talking to his cousin who is reading your first 2 years in youth ministry.
yeah.
He was like, you're meeting Doug Field. And like, so I go, okay, here's one guy who's into youth ministry at the undergraduate level. But 99 out of 100,
Yeah.
they could
They know
care
better.
less.
They know better
They
already.
could care
We're fine.
less. Here's the
Doug-
first question,
Doug
Reggie.
Schmug.
First question.
Doug.
Warm greetings. It's important that I speak to you as soon as possible regarding some important and vital information I'd like to share with you. There's an account here in my bank that has very close connections to you because it belonged to a distant relative of yours. Do not hesitate in responding. This message could be of great importance and could change your life for the better.
I hope you gave him your social security number right away.
Well, I just thought since you're the primary
weird.
sponsor of the show that you ought to start. You ought to,
It looks legit.
yeah.
Warm
Can
greetings.
change your life for the
That
better.
that came to webshow@downloadyouthministry.com. Well, while you think about that,
Yeah.
let's
From the Netherlands.
let's do this one.
Totally trustworthy.
This is from Jake King. He was the Youth Development and Community Relations Pastor.
Wow.
That's a great title.
That's a mouthful of a title.
He says, "DYM member. I'm a DYM member. The web show is easier to listen to without Matt's cackle."
Oh,
Just
sadder,
kidding.
though.
no, it's
but
not.
not
It's
really.
sadder.
What's your view of pulling teens out of school for a youth event?
Do it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Here's the background to why I asked the question. I've been in the church for about 5 months. We're going on a winter retreat, which is about 6 hours away. I'm a fan of retreats because of what they do for a group. I'm not a fan of going this far away because it requires them to miss school on a Friday for a weekend retreat, but I'm taking them because it has been a tradition. I will probably try to find a closer retreat next year. So it kind of sounds like he's answered his own question by finding a closer retreat.
Yeah.
What do you think about
And
taking
it's
them out of
already
school?
a tradition.
You're taking. What do you say? You
Well, I think every once in a while, if once a year you have something where, students have to leave school early for the day, and as long as you communicate well in advance to parents, I think
Right.
it can be cool. We've done it for mission trips before
Yeah.
and some different types of things. And, most parents going on something with the church, they are a little bit more flexible with some things like that. But I don't know. I think good communication up front, every once in a while, it's okay.
Well, and I think it's okay to plan a retreat on a weekend that's a natural long weekend anyhow.
Totally.
So MLK Day is coming, right now. That would be a good one. The Valentine's
President's
weekend
holiday.
happened, right. The President's weekend is a great weekend that already has a Friday or a Monday off. So I feel like, choose those first.
Yep.
And if you can't get the right retreat center or camp to open up or whatever, maybe look at something else. But I would say default to a better weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Or
as a
closer.
teenager, I would have skipped school for anything.
Totally.
Yeah, come on,
I'm
right?
saying.
Yeah.
Students
saying.
don't care.
actually makes church more attractive.
It does.
Yeah,
It really
I'll
does.
go to
I'm
your
thinking
retreat.
now your
What?
program looks better than it was going to look because
Yeah.
you get to miss school.
It's
Absolutely.
true.
Hey, as
Yeah.
the primary sponsor of our show, Reggie, I'd like to let you know that Josh made a strategic error
Oh, boy.
because one of the things we try not to do is
Really?
date the show because we're not exactly sure when our executive producer will ever
He
get to
said
show
something
up.
about
Martin Luther King
I
Day
get it.
coming up. See, by
Wow.
the time this goes up, Martin
Right.
Luther King.
It could be the 4th
you
of
know,
July.
that's-
There's
Selma,
another one coming
Selma
up
will
in a
be on
year.
video.
Right. Let's see. That's why it's important that you're leading this thing because you can catch those kind of things. Because Josh evidently isn't nearly as strategic
No,
as you are. when
he's
it comes
totally
to this.
hosting. I just co-host.
And-
That's all I do.
He's eye candy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Just
Sorry I
making
beat
sure.
you to that.
did. Nicely
So
done.
sorry.
Sour Patch.
This is from Bobby Pace. Bobby says, what would you say to a student who has been a leader in our ministry who says that he's feeling like following Jesus is no longer worth it?
Oh.
This kid is extremely charismatic and the call of God is evident in him, but he's just tired of being the, quote, Christian guy. Reggie, here's what I'd love for you to do.
Okay.
Last year at the Orange Conference and then on the Orange Tour, which for those of you, if you can't go to the Orange Conference, which we want you to because you're going to be there with us and we're gonna have a DYM. I'm just the more I say it, the
Absolutely.
more
Yeah,
I think
I
it'll
like
come
agree.
true.
I mean,
Total
it's sinking
meetup.
in, yeah.
Pizza.
Pizza.
Pizza and a DJ.
A meets up. We're gonna do a
Ooh,
meets
I
up.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the XP3 folks. But there is
go with it. He's
also
old.
in the fall. There's something called the Orange
The
Tour.
Orange Tour, right,
And
right.
Orange Tour goes to 13 different places,
Right.
and it's kind of like a summary of the Orange Conference.
Mm-hmm.
And there, you did kind of a brilliant message. I shouldn't say kind of a brilliant message. It was a brilliant
That hurts,
message.
hurtful.
Where you created this tension between what is and what should be.
Right.
And this actually kind of feels like
Yeah.
this falls into that category. You want to summarize that? I mean, don't give the whole message, but
By all means, do.
Wow. Well, I mean,
That's
I
great.
think at the end of the day, there are a list of things that we want our kids to walk away with and embrace and hold on to. And sometimes in our attempt to teach those truths, we forget to teach the tension between what is true and what is real. And sometimes reality has a way of suffocating what is true. And I don't know this kid's story, but it could be that there are just some real issues that he's dealing with, that somewhere in the context of those real issues, he doesn't see how truth fits in.
Right.
And he probably needs 2 or 3 things. I would love for you guys to jump in here with that. One is he probably needs real leaders to come along beside him that are seasoned, that have had, some mileage, and they can connect the dots, because it's so easy for a kid to grow up and think that because I believe the Bible, or because I go to church, or because all those things which are supposed to be values that we hand to them are true, that that everything in life should work better. And he's probably hit a wall. I mean, I don't know the specific story, but he's probably hit a wall and things have gotten messy, and he doesn't see how living in that tension ultimately can make truth become more real. The truth that right now is superficial in his life, if he could understand how that connects with his everyday life and to go through the pain of whatever it is he's dealing with, ultimately that truth could become even more real in a different kind of way.
yeah.
So
Well, and I know because you want to be in God's will, you're going to put this into a book someday. I told you that after I heard the message. I said, that's good. That needs to be.
well, it's
in a
interesting
book."
how we make an enemy of things in life that we shouldn't make an enemy of.
Exactly.
Like one of the things we say in this message is all of the Bible is true, but all the truth that we need to know is not in the Bible. And it could be, again, this kid just needs to understand some other truth about leadership and life and stuff that are real, but they're just not necessarily in the Bible, and understand how to interface with people that care about him.
Yeah.
I
don't
love
know.
that. I think so many great things come from doubts.
Absolutely.
You know, when we have moments of doubt, that leads us to questions, which is so, wonderful about great, leaders or mentors coming alongside of this guy. This might just be a great next 6 months of good conversation. And maybe it's not, you need to do this or you need to do A, B, C to get back to where you were. It might just be helping him wrestle, which I think that wrestling
Yep.
process does ultimately lead.
If he can't
to
process his own doubt, he'll never own his own faith.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, I think you're absolutely right, especially as kids approach middle school and they shift from concrete to abstract.
huge.
There is this idea that a lot of the things they've held on to are going to be challenged, and we should just assume, not that we ever went through a crisis of faith, but we should assume that every kid is going to hit a wall and go through a crisis of faith, and how we allow them to process that and how we walk with them through that can make the difference in whether faith stays intact.
So what would you say to this leader who's concerned about for this guy? I mean, you've now just said it philosophically that this tension is okay. It's okay for
Absolutely.
him to question being the Christian guy, all that stuff. But what would you give him? Give him a practical coach.
I would say as a leader, don't panic. This is normal. I would say pull alongside of him, process. He needs a relationship more than he needs convincing of something during the season. Those are 2 things I would say. What would you add?
No, I would absolutely say the same thing. Don't run away.
Yeah.
Like, I think as soon as we hear about doubts and fears and questions and your life doesn't match up with this perfect little American Jesus, American dream, I think we just want to bail. We want to run. And I think, man, lean into that moment of doubt.
I think there's
and
moments
fear.
for every leader. I think there's just little sound bites that become part of your arsenal that you say every week that creates an environment of okay.
Right.
For example, I don't know everything to be true, but here's something that whatever those statements are, even as you open up the scripture, some of this just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, there's stuff in the scripture
Right.
that doesn't make sense to me. And for me to make
Yeah,
those little
acknowledge that.
soundbite comments every week and just kind of feed the stream of of content that's getting out to my kids, you know, I don't need to say, I question whether there is a God. Now let's start our lesson. You know, but there
Just throwing that
are-
out there.
Yeah.
Well, and I think there's another thing related to this too, and this is how this leader responds to him initially will be what he remembers the rest of his life.
I like that.
And so I think there's a lot to be said here that he felt comfortable enough to make this statement.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's huge. I love what Kara Powell says sometimes when she says that it's not, you shouldn't worry when kids express their doubt, you should worry if they don't. The fact that he was able to go, hey, I'm struggling with this, opens a door that I think is a huge door to open.
Yeah.
And you already have a relationship with him, you know, so I mean,
Right.
there's so much that there's already, you know, groundwork that's been laid. And so you can ask some tougher questions and challenging
Absolutely.
questions and lean in and dig in a little bit more
Yeah.
than maybe you would if this was a student that you didn't, or a leader that you didn't already have an existing relationship with.
But
so,
he is transitioning to owning his own faith.
yeah, it's a good thing.
And that's important. And,
good.
you know, so, yeah.
It's good. Parker. It's a good one, isn't it?
Great.
You wrote all that down?
Yep. The thing
Yep.
about the bubbles and the sign, all that.
Okay, great.
Totally.
See what I mean, Reggie?
Yeah.
He's on
sharp.
top of it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right on the top.
Damon During
All right.
asked a question similar to Aaron Tucker from First Baptist Church, Philadelphia, Mississippi. You ever been to a Philadelphia, Mississippi?
I think I've driven through there. Actually.
Yeah?
I'm from the South, so
My
I
wife's
Yeah,
from
you
6
kind of
West.
think,
Yeah.
hey, leave Philadelphia to Pennsylvania, Mississippi.
you would think that.
Why
right.
do you got to take it? Do you
Right.
have a New York, Mississippi too?
No, we don't have a New York, Mississippi.
Manhattan,
But
Mississippi?
there's a Paris, Georgia. So I mean, you know, there's other cities
true.
that show up.
That's
in
true.
places, so.
Hijack.
We don't have anything
Athens,
like that in
Georgia.
California.
I mean, come on,
we
you
are
know.
so.
You have heard of Athens, Georgia, I'm sure.
Sure.
Okay, just making
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Big cities and small
So
states.
The one in
Aaron
Greece is
Tucker
named
and
after
Damon write similar questions. One of them is why Orange? Why another curriculum to compete with the plethora already available?
Oh, good.
Oh.
Okay.
Let me just tee
Great
that up
question.
for you.
And then Aaron says, what's the most common mistake you see being made by youth workers to prevent their work from being orange?
Okay, let me think about that. Which one do I want to answer first here? I mean,
Well,
Do this
let's. Why don't you describe
I think it's a
actually
little
what you
different,
just
right?
talked to our, Reggie just met with our whole DYM team and talked a little bit about the strategy of Orange and some of the complementary resources that Orange creates to help with the strategy. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
so do you want to know why we use the color orange or why we have a curriculum?
No, I think let's start with the
Curriculum,
curriculum, but
Okay.
give big picture of Orange.
Yeah. Well, I think Orange has 5 values, and that's what we love about working with DYM because we think we reflect these same values with you guys. And one of the values is an integrated strategy. We feel like that a church should think in terms of the life, not just the age group. We should think in terms of what is the plan of action with an end in mind. So as a middle school pastor, you're going to be thinking, what do I want kids to understand and believe and become when they move into high school? As a high school pastor, what do I want them to become, when they walk away?
Right.
We want to back it up and go, when a kid is born and you're looking at the big picture of their life in your church, what is it that you want to make sure happens in their life at every phase, at every stage along the way, so when they walk away, that they've become, a certain kind of thinker, a certain kind of believer, and the bottom line is, we feel like when the children's pastors play with the student pastors, that happens better.
It's better,
We
yeah.
think there's a synchronization, and if you can play on the same team together, we think parents will play with you better. I say this all the time to leaders and churches and staff members. How do you expect parents to get on the same page with you if you don't get on the same page as a staff?
Right.
So there's a strategy, an integrated strategy piece to this, where we want to think in terms of teaching with an end in mind. So when we talk about our curriculum, we're talking about turning 3 dials constantly in the life of a kid from 0 until they get to college. You're still going to be doing what you do in middle school curriculum. You're still going to be doing what you do in high school curriculum. There's going to be some different bottom lines every week, but you're going to be turning these same consistent dials all the way through a kid's life. We think there are 9 big rocks you're going to put in place. And we actually, think, obviously there are a lot of great curriculums out there. We think you should, if you don't use our curriculum, use one of those, but at least when you use one of those, be strategic. Think in terms of what is the end in mind, and are we systematically and strategically recycling the big truths? Another thing that we would say that's kind of in our DNA is you have 40 hours in a given year to teach a kid who shows up in your church. The parent has about 3,000 hours in a given year.
Yeah, 40. That was really discouraging.
Yeah,
just now.
you do.
I-
Well, think about it this way. The average sixth grader is going to play video games for 400 hours this year. You've got 40. So that
Right.
means we should be strategic about what happens with every one of those hours every week that we have. And so let's put them together in a way where we're prioritizing what are the most important truths.
Yeah, how dare we waste them,
Oh,
or
absolutely.
just go for this here and this here and this here, and
Absolutely.
then whatever happens, happens.
And,
Right.
and you know, we think some approaches are, let's start in Genesis and go to Revelation. Our approach is, no, we've got 40 hours this year. Let's decide what the most important things are that we can talk about, and let's talk about those things. And let's not just think in terms of that for high school or middle school. Let's back up and start all the way at the beginning and create a plan all the way through.
So is that part of the first? I know the answer to this. I'm setting you up, but is that
Okay.
that's integrated strategy, or does that
Yeah.
move into the next one about
refine your
messaging?
message? Yeah, there's integrate your strategy, refine your message. Then there's enlist the family, which is how are you going to take the 3,000 hours that the parents have and tap into them or get them to align with your strategy. Then there's the elevate community, which is okay. What are we going to do about relationships with kids? We think production is important. You should be excellent. We think the most powerful thing you can do in the life of a kid or teenager is to put a consistent adult in their life who will do life with them.
Yep.
And so we feel like that's the core. So when you have the parent and the small group leader on the same page with a strategy, recycling what we consider to be the most important truths, that's what we don't even call ours a curriculum. We call it a strategy because we want to talk about how what you do programming wise fits into what you do every week in your weekly environments.
Yeah.
And how you lead or train leaders and parents synchronizes with all of
And
it.
the
So.
and the fifth.
Yeah, you want to turn them loose, right? You
Yeah,
want to train them, get
that's
them
the
serving.
fifth. The fifth one is influence. The fifth one gets really significant as they move through middle school into high school because what we would say is that their discipleship, their spiritual growth, is more connected at this stage to serving
Yeah.
than it is Bible study, worship, or prayer. And again, we talk about 3 dials you're constantly turning: a relationship with God dial, a relationship with themselves and how they see themselves, and a relationship with others. And as they move toward middle school and high school, they shift from the me to the we, and they start recognizing the value of community of faith.
Right.
And we want them to walk away and understand before they leave the church that they are the church. And I think we have a window of time, especially in high school, to plug them into ministry to do that. We say this all the time, that you can't teach a kid they're significant. You've got to give them something significant to do, and then they understand they have a mission.
Yeah, let them discover that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, then it sticks.
So.
Which is the power of studentleadershipconference.com.
Absolutely.
You know.
I agree. And I set you up for that. Because
You did.
I actually heard Janet, is that right, today
Uh-huh.
talking about that's one of their goals is to kind of unleash that student segment of
Yeah,
leadership.
we don't want every high school student there. We
No.
just want a few from several groups, and we want you to be a part of that. So that's studentleadershipconference.com. Now, these 5 parts of the strategy and the curriculum, the whole bit, at the Orange Conference, you talk about it.
Yeah.
But it's not the whole deal. There's
No.
more that happens. But if you're like rookie, I don't know, I'd like to dig into that. I'd like to investigate. I'd like to study. I'd like to bring our children's team, or next gen pastor, or family pastor. That's the beauty. We were talking about that
love
last
that.
week
Yeah.
when we were talking about Orange. We said the beauty of Orange is it's children's, youth.
It's the
and-
team.
Yeah, it's
And
team.
you put them in the same room. Yeah.
So, and I like the idea of, I mean, it's a little bit semantics, let's be honest, that you don't call it a curriculum, you call it a strategy, but semantics is what drives vision and
Right.
values. And so if people understand that it's
Absolutely.
not just paper that we're getting, because if you just about a curriculum, this is your line, you're going to find the next cute curriculum
Absolutely.
that comes out in 3
Yeah.
years that's $8 cheaper,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and has a different graphic. You go, let's try that, because it's not tied into anything. So really, that is what sets Orange apart.
I think it is. And I think there are about 6 or 7 issues that we could talk about. How does what you do every week partner with parents? We have that built in. How does it develop the small group leader? We have that built in. And how do your programs that you do the rest of the year synchronize with what the big rocks are and the strategy is? And so we feel like there's a lot of that relates to it. So when we say strategy, what we want to do is elevate it above just the content of the teaching every week. And there's something strategic behind why we do what we do on a platform to set up small groups so they can win,
Yeah.
not just to have a good communication moment and presentation on the week.
Well, yeah, you're really saying it's so much more than just a
It is.
curriculum. It's not just a curriculum at all.
right.
Yeah,
Reggie,
I like that.
what is the name of the book? I actually gave it to Josh when we were talking about Orange being the primary sponsor. I said, Josh, I want you to read this because this gives the overview of Orange. It's a thin book. I just can't remember the name of it, but it kind of spells out the whole strategy.
You're not talking about the Think Orange, big, thick orange book.
No, I'm talking about the one that actually it's real easy to read. It's got a lot of, it's laid out real fun and
Oh,
The one for youth pastors.
Orange Essentials.
Orange Essentials.
Orange Essentials.
Yeah.
It's kind of the Orange for Dummies.
Big,
Yeah.
thick.
Okay.
Youth pastors like big.
That's
thick,
the
I'm
one you
out,
gave to
I'm out.
Josh.
Yeah.
That one. So,
Orange
because it's got a
Essentials.
lot of pictures in it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
get it. A lot of
No,
diagrams
quick.
and graphs.
It was a quick read, and by
I
read I
understand.
mean flip
So
through.
I was wondering how he knew it so well.
Yeah, well, you get to that pop-up picture,
Right.
you know, it's real,
Okay.
it was real special.
Grateful.
So let's go to Aaron's question. What's the most common mistake you see by youth workers to prevent their work from being orange?
You know, I think there are a number of questions that we have that student pastors ask us. When it comes to prevent their church from being orange, I would say probably 2 or 3 things. One is if they fail to make parents a value or the family a value.
That's where I would start too.
Yeah, because, you know, I think there's a tendency when I was a student pastor to rally the kids around me.
Absolutely.
And sometimes because I know they're wrestling with their parents, if I take a couple of shots at their parents, it kind of endears them to me.
Right.
And so I think there's a tendency for student pastors, if they're not careful, to go down that road instead of pushing, I think like Scripture teaches, pushing the heart of the father to a kid and the heart of a kid to a father.
Right. You can actually be driving a wedge between
You
those
can.
teenagers and their families, as
Absolutely.
opposed to partnering them, connecting them,
Absolutely.
deepening
And
the relationship.
And Josh knows that firsthand. But
Absolutely.
that's a whole nother
Absolutely. The
show.
junior high pastor's just driving a
Right,
wedge
right,
between
right.
me and
So
my
you
son.
have to
right
undo
now.
what the junior high pastor
She
did.
is
Right, I
killing it, literally killing it.
Just bringing it together.
And the other thing which you two illustrate so well is that playing together
Yeah.
is another thing, because I think there's an island kind of mindset of a lot of mavericks who are student pastors of I don't need everybody else, just give me my space and let me do my thing, and why does it matter, you know, if we have a meeting? But I think when you can get the team in the same room, you can get them on the same page, but they can't get on the same page unless they get in the same room. And I think there's some
I think there's just natural resistance to
There
that.
is.
Like
There
there's
is.
egos come to the table and save your
Absolutely.
complexes, and you have to have a lot of humility to sit together and go, I'm not going to care just about, as you were talking about,
Yeah.
think about their life, not the age group. The humility that requires is
Absolutely.
significant. It's much easier for me to go, I don't care what they're doing in junior high. I don't care what they're doing in college. I only care about this. That's the only hat I'm ever going to wear.
Which-
but how shallow is that?
which
too?
comes back to another issue, and I think it's the Pied Piper student pastor mindset, which is I would encourage student pastors, don't build the entire ministry around your personality. Understand that your success is going to be how you broaden your base and develop other leaders.
Right.
And you did a great job of that on tour. The message you talked about on tour about pushing other leaders into the spotlight and developing leaders. You know, it's not just recruiting leaders, it's developing leaders, because that's a core piece of this.
Yeah.
And as student pastors, if you're going to win, you have to make other leaders a priority and build the student ministry around them. You know, Tom Shefchunas was talking with us the other day, and he talked about one of the markers that they had shifted to a different kind of concept was when the teenagers show up and they're not bringing a Christmas present to the student pastor, they're giving a Christmas present to their small group leader.
Is that why I didn't get it?
I'll tell you
That's an
this.
indicator.
I'm not gonna lie to
I
you.
get
Instagram was filled with pictures. I'm glad to hear it that way because at Christmas I was like,
Oh man.
man, I promise you, I was actually bummed because they're like, here I am with my, and I'm like, man,
That means you're doing your job.
But I kind
That
of
means
like
you're doing your job.
I'm gonna
It's
take
nice to
that.
know.
That's
It's
good
nice
to know.
to know.
You pulled me out of despair to
Now-
know that maybe
now,
that's
you need to
okay.
know
Now, if
about
you're-
Josh.
If your small group leaders cared about you, they would give you
Now,
a Christmas
they
present,
would.
but I don't know about that.
Well, if they were pastored correctly.
Oh, yeah, if they were
Yeah,
pastored
they need to be
correctly. I
cared
get it.
for.
I
Yeah,
get
that's
it.
true.
What
I
you
have
need
a
to
lot
know
of.
about Josh, anything Josh can get for free, really, that
Oh,
trumps.
it's so
that trumps
wounding when
philosophy.
somebody else. Oh, it's so
Yeah.
hard. Yeah.
Gotta
So
get
I hope we can go to lunch today, and
Yeah, we'll do that.
I'd like to get a free lunch. I don't know if
I'll
that's possible.
buy lunch.
He's
Lunch is
primary
on me.
sponsor.
Primary
Lunch is on me.
sponsor.
Hey, that's
Excellent.
right.
We're going to someplace nice then.
Right.
Okay, so you
Oh.
said the couple mistakes. You said make family the value. What's another one?
Becoming the center of the ministry,
Right.
the Pied Piper
Okay.
thing. I think not playing as a team.
Great.
You
Yep.
break down the silos. And here's another one, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, but sometimes high school pastors act like they own their teenagers instead of pushing their teenagers to serve and letting their teenagers show up in other places and do other things. And I think that holding your teenagers with open hands and pushing them into other relationships, especially missional opportunities or serving in other places of the church, is a huge piece of it as well.
The hard part with that, Reggie, is that as a high school pastor, I'm evaluated by the number of kids that come
I
up to
was
my program.
so thinking that, and I was
know.
going, my numbers take a hit when they serve in
Which,
junior high.
which
when
I
they
think
serve
there
as a
needs to be
greeter,
there needs to be
when they
another
serve-
there needs to be another yardstick.
I'm in.
You should measure your success as a student pastor by what percentage of your students are plugging into the ministry.
Come on.
Absolutely.
Come on.
Absolutely.
That's a
If you
different.
could
Now,
just
but
take
when
that
it's
to
a-
message to some senior
Absolutely.
pastors, that'd
That's
be
what I was just gonna say. When it's a
You're preaching to the wrong
top-down
choir.
value,
Oh, it'd be so great.
Which,
Yeah.
it makes
which we could
makes a
talk
difference.
about how the student pastor appeals to those over them and how they bring the senior pastor and the parents and the leadership of the church into these values, because at some point they have the potential to drive that.
They have to. I
They
think
do.
One
David
of the
said it's
biggest
gonna
questions
Lead up.
we get is how to lead.
We
up.
get that all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Upward
Always.
influence.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I love, and I've been at the Orange Conference for at least the last 5 or 6 years, is how many senior pastors do come to that. And
That's a
more and
gift.
more you're seeing team and, children's and youth and family and senior and executives. And that's a great thing about it. We're excited to be a part of it. We're
Well,
excited.
we are too.
All 3 of us are going to be out there.
All right.
Maybe we should get Jason. Speaking of Jason,
We should, yeah,
You know,
Jason
Jason
Carson.
is the one who normally sits
I haven't
here.
met Jason, have I?
No.
Oh,
he's-
this
Jason,
is an important moment right now.
Yeah,
Wow.
Jason started the Supertones. One of the biggest
Wow.
bands in the '90s, Christian bands.
I got it.
Youth
Okay.
pastor for 22 years.
Just royalties,
Supertones,
just
Supertones.
Yeah.
Okay, got Supertones. Gotcha, okay.
OC Superintendent.
One of
Yeah,
the
OC
biggest
Supertones.
one of the biggest things I love about him, he's a great youth pastor.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
so
very
he's
cool.
locally,
He's
like
great.
honestly, what I've said about Jason, here's a guy who's in the shadow of Mega Saddleback, who faithfully has just loved teenagers, week after week after week for 20 plus years.
And
Feels
talked
called,
highly of everyone
Yeah,
and everything at
never-
the same time.
never criticized
competition,
Saddleback.
none of that business.
and now he's planting a church.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so he's created some resources for us on DYM, and when Matt left, we invited him to fill that seat. He loves Jesus. He's got a great family. He's got the pedigree. Now he's going to be coming from a senior leadership position. So this will be fun to have his spin on there. And when we talked about partnering with Orange, I said, have you ever heard of Orange? He goes, oh, yeah, we really want their children's curriculum, but as a startup church, we can't afford it. And so what I said,
Yeah, there were
is I
tears,
said,
very emotional.
Always emotional.
I
I
happen
feel like this is a setup.
I happen
you are
to
correct,
know
sir.
a couple people at Orange, and what I said is, maybe
Your
maybe
people will call my people
maybe
and
what
we'll-
we
yeah.
could do is
Yeah.
we could gift him for the first year,
Oh, absolutely.
and then allow him to get his tithes and
You
stuff
just
like
let
that.
him know that we'll give him anything he needs the first year, and
Oh.
that way,
Do you
we're
want a high
talking.
five?
There you
what?
go. I
Here's
felt like
the deal.
someone
Yeah,
needs
I feel
to.
like
Yeah,
there's
I'll
curriculum
high-five you too. That was
resources.
great.
I,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
told him
Just-
I only have one goal for 2015, and it was to get him a free year of.
Well, he said anything he needs.
Yeah, anything he needs.
Anything he needs. That's
It's not just the curriculum. If he wants,
That's
any
bold.
of
I like
your
that.
books, I can give him those. If he wants
great.
any of,
As long as you give them to him.
Hey, I'm good with that. I got lots of stuff we can give him.
That's great.
I love
And,
it.
and hey,
Can
you
we
know
invite
what?
him to the conference?
Absolutely, free pass to the conference. No, not only free pass to the conference.
Uh-oh.
Bring his key leader that he wants to bring to the conference.
Yes,
This
this is
children's
so
ministry.
exciting.
Bring that.
Why don't
to
we
the
do a
conference.
web
What do you
show?
want to give Josh
Let's
and
do
I?
it.
Absolutely.
All right. So,
Okay,
Kate, what does
so-
Katie get?
Katie knows she can get anything she wants.
That's
I
so
love
cool.
it.
He
He
will
will
be
be
the
giddy.
kindest human.
He's
He
great.
will be
He's
overjoyed.
unbelievable.
He might cry.
He is going to
That's
be
great.
an
He might
incredible.
cry.
He's
senior
had his
pastor,
kids'
too.
spelling
He's a good
bee
man.
today.
Oh, wow.
That's why he couldn't be here, because he even said, if Reggie's going to be on the show, do you want me on the show? I was like, absolutely. I'm going to get you a free curriculum. So he would have been thrilled. He's gracious. He's awesome.
Yep.
And he
What
will,
city is he starting a church?
here, Mission
Yeah,
Viejo.
that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
That's great.
Real locally. So anyway, he will be thrilled out of his mind to
That's
get
awesome.
that. And I wish you could see the joy, because he really does.
Yeah, watch
He-
the next show. Maybe we should save it until he's on the show, and so we can capture it.
That means nobody who's watching this can say anything.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, forget it. It's
You don't
okay.
trust them?
Just have
I
a
don't-
GoPro.
I don't
Just
Tell
have a
them,
GoPro
tell them they
moment.
can't.
Take
Tell
a
them.
Yeah, we'll
GoPro.
GoPro it.
Tell
GoPro,
him.
that's
Yeah.
I'm
We'll
sure if
GoPro
you
it. Yeah,
made
yeah.
sure they
We'll
didn't
GoPro
tweet
it.
anything or say anything about it, nobody here would say anything at all. about
Yeah,
it.
that's
Oh, yeah.
true.
Well,
Totally.
we're not
Doug already
sure.
tweeted
We're
it.
not sure what month this show will actually make it
Yeah,
on.
maybe.
TV.
Happy
wow.
4th of July, guys! Great seeing you.
Like
what
I
a great,
said,
what a great
Selma's
spring.
on Selma's on DVD by
Orange
now.
was great.
Anyway,
Orange wasn't Orange a great.
Totally. It's fantastic.
Anyway, here's the deal. If you want to know more about Orange,
Oh, I
is
love it.
you need to go to theorangeconference.com. Is that right?
I think that's right.
Orange
You can
Conference.
Google Orange and learn all about telecom in South Africa, and then the second link you can
Yeah,
learn
that's a
about
different orange.
You don't own that orange? Is
The
that not
Orange
a-
I wish we
Conference.
did.
I know.
We would have no many problems.
TheOrangeConference.com.
The Orange Conference, there
You'll
it is.
see us there. Anyway, thanks for Reggie. Thanks for being a part of
No
the show.
doubt.
Thanks for being the primary sponsor. Thanks
Absolutely.
everybody. Send your questions to webshow@downloadyouthministry.com. If you're a DYM member, just let us know, and your question rises to the
Front of
top.
the
Not
list.
that we
Boom.
don't love others,
No,
we just love DYM members a little bit more. All right, see you next time, everyone.
Next
Goodbye.
time.
Dude, can he
Bye.
just fill in?
The end.